Welcome back, everybody, to NCAA Lax Game Day with myself, Andrew Goldberg, and John Iadavia. As always, you can tweet at us at NCAA Lax Game Day, at Goldieberg, and at John_A_Iadavia. Right now, we have a very special guest on with us. We spend a lot of time focusing on Division I lacrosse here and the stories that occupy the Division I lacrosse world, but we're going to change gears here and focus on Division III lacrosse and some big news that occurred a couple weeks ago. As maybe some of you, our listeners, know, Michael Sam broke the news that he was gay, making it, basically very, very possible that he will be the first openly gay NFL player. Well, a couple weeks ago, prior to Michael Sam's announcement, Holden Richards of Kenyon College, a Division III lacrosse school in Ohio that plays in the NCAC, came out as, to my knowledge, to be the first openly gay lacrosse player. So, as the host of NCAA Lax Game Day, we are very proud to welcome Holden onto the show today. Holden, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, just trying to dig myself out of the snow. I mean, I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, of course.
So, Kenyon, first off, obviously, what you did to have the courage to, I'm not saying it's a slight on you, but just in this society we live on, just to have the courage to come out and, say that you're a gay lacrosse player, you're okay with it. Obviously, as a human, you live how you live, you should be free to be happy. So what I'm going to talk to you about is kind of, what was the process with everything? Was, first off, I guess, why did you ultimately decide to do it, or how it came about in terms of coming out to be gay? I mean, was there really any process to it?
Yes and no. I recently started coming out to close members and family last spring, and there's always in the back of my mind about openly coming out as gay in the lacrosse eye, because I've known, to my knowledge, that there's only been one openly gay lacrosse player before me, which was Andrew Goldstein of Dartmouth College in, I think, '04, and he was an All-American goalie. So, he has an ESPN documentary. It's like a 7-man documentary. It's really good. You can watch it on YouTube. But I think the biggest thing for me was to establish a good baseline of friendships and relationships with those I'm close to before I came out publicly, because I knew that if coming out publicly I could do something bigger than myself, and I really wanted to get the message across that, statistically, that I'm probably not the only gay lacrosse player out there, and I wanted to share my story to show that people, if that they were comfortable enough, like, we are in the age of society where it's really not a big deal anymore, and if you're comfortable with yourself, that there's a high chance that everybody around you is going to love you for who you are, and it's not going to matter if you're gay, it just matters what you can do on the lacrosse field.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, that's how I kind of felt once, Michael Sam broke the news. I mean, part of me just kind of really didn't care that he was gay. I just kind of wanted to know, how's he going to play on the lacrosse field? And, for you, obviously, I think your teammates kind of felt the same way. But obviously, like you alluded to, you kind of needed to make a baseline in terms of knowing, kind of getting the temperature of everyone around you, and I guess whether you could do it. So, part of, I guess, what people do before they make announcements like these is talk to somebody. Did you ever talk? You mentioned talking to your coaches. Did you talk to anybody else before you decided to come out?
Oh yeah, I talked to before the people. I've talked to my fraternity brothers. I talked to my parents, my brothers, close friends from home and from school, and I even talked to a couple of lacrosse players about it on my team here, about this whole process and what they thought about it. And everybody was real supportive about any decision I made, because in the end they just wanted me to be happy, and they supported who I was, and they didn't really care in the end, because it's like, oh, it's great that you can trust us enough to tell you your secret that you've been keeping your whole life, but in the end it really just doesn't change anything. It's just a sexual preference. So
So, okay, what, I guess, so what questions do they ask you? Like, I don't know, I don't mean to laugh, I don't mean to be inconsiderate, but I mean, I guess
Totally
just the
understandable.
tone of your voice made it sound like some of the questions were funny, so I mean, what kind of questions were they? Was it anything kind of ridiculous? Like,
Well, there's like the kind of basic questions like how does it work or like what is, like I don't understand it, and it's like when I introduced my boyfriend to a couple of cosplayers, are like, wow, your boyfriend doesn't seem gay at all. I was like, did I seem gay when I was coming here before I came out to you guys? They're like, well, no. I was like, exactly. Like, we don't all fit into this stereotypical, like, flamboyant, like, oh, hey, guys. And just like, all that matters is who you are, and it doesn't really matter that we like guys. So.
yeah, exactly, and it's
There's some
actually
more explicit questions, but I probably wouldn't be safe for the people to hear that.
right. Of course, we'll thank you later for that. So I guess when you actually decided to do it, were you? I mean, what were you? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Was it kind of just I mean, when I read the story on Outsports.com, I think it had mentioned that you basically were coming out, or one of your teammates had quote unquote like discovered that you were gay at the end of your freshman year, so it was kind of weird. It was like at the end of the year, and you guys were going into summer, so you guys didn't really have like a time to I guess say digest everything and talk about it as a team. You kind of had the summer, and then you came back in that next year to kind of work everything out. So talk about that. I mean, how did were you scared? Were you nervous? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think to some extent that every LGBTQ person faces is the process of coming out, because we're in kind of a transition stage in our history where like it's becoming less important to come out. It's becoming more regular, but everybody still fears like if they come out, will people still love me? Like, will they reject me for who I am just because of my sexual preference? So I think everybody is really nervous about coming out to their like first couple people. Like, I know from my own experience that coming out to my fraternity brother, who was the first person I came out to, I was beyond nervous. Like, I was stuttering. I couldn't form a coherent sentence. And it took me a couple of minutes, like, to even just spit out the words that I'm gay. And, like, after the reinforcement that he provided me, he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. Like, I still love you. And I was like, oh, like, this is not that bad. So, like, once you start with one person, it's easy to come out with the next person and the next and the next. Then I think from that step, it's like telling your family and like close relatives. So that's like another step, because it's like you live with these people your whole life and you feel their rejection as well. But in my mind, it's easier to come out to your parents and your close friends because they've known you your whole life.
Yeah. So
Then,
yeah. Okay. Continue. Sorry.
sorry,
No, you can continue.
I lost my train of thought.
Okay, all right. Well, I was just gonna say, you had mentioned, in the article, it mentioned that, going into that summer, you were kind of nervous about, I guess, coming out to your parents because, for those of you who don't know, your parents are, they're ministers, right? Or your dad is?
My dad's not a minister. He's
Okay.
just like ushers for the church every weekend.
Okay.
So we're not like extremely religious, but like my family does attend church.
Right. So I mean, obviously in Catholicism, I guess it's just hard for you to come out because it goes against everything in the Bible. But I guess talk about what had happened in terms of what you did to come out to your parents, because I read about it, but just to give our listeners, what happened.
Yeah. So coming out to my parents was like I gave myself a deadline that I had to do it in the summer, because it felt I needed to do it, and just out of respect to my parents. But I didn't know exactly how to bring that up to them. So I ended up going to Pride in Portland, Oregon, where I ended up getting a bracelet that's just like rainbow bracelet and says Pride. So I was like, okay, I'll wear this around, and my parents have to notice sometime, and they'll like ask me about the bracelet, and that's what I'll tell them. So we're coming back from a movie one afternoon, and we're just my parents and myself in the car, and then I was just texting her something, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, my mother goes, hey honey, like, what's on your wrist? Like, oh, it's like a pride bracelet. And she's like, oh, like, where'd you get it? And I was like, oh, one of my friends got it for me. And she's just like, oh, you're not gay, are you? And I was like, no, I am. And then my dad starts hysterically laughing. He's like, oh, you mean gay friendly, right? And I was just like, no, I'm just gay. And so we had like 10 to 15 minutes for the rest of that home, and not a single word was said between us. So of course I started freaking out on the inside, like this is not going as like exactly as I planned. So we ended up getting home. I get out of the car, and then my parents said they had to go to the grocery store, which doesn't make sense because like they went to the grocery store yesterday. So they pull out and then just like left me home alone. So of course I freak out. And so I call friends over who like already knew I was gay, and like they come over and just hang out, because in my mind, if I had them as a buffer, my parents couldn't like kick me out or like yell at me or anything. So in my mind, it's like a safe bet to do. So for my parents' side of the story, from what they tell me, when they went to the grocery store, my mom like brought it up with my dad, and I was like, hey, do you realize what our son just told you? And my dad's like, told us what? He's like, my mother's like, oh, your son just told you he's gay. And my dad's like, what? Like, when did this happen? So, like, the thing about my dad is he can be, like, there in his own world. So sometimes he doesn't, like, remember certain aspects of a conversation. So he, like, completely forgot that I told him I was gay. So my mom had, like, come out for me again to him.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting to go through. So my parents each, like, took an hour or two with me afterwards, like a couple of days later, to have a whole conversation about like being gay and everything that comes with it. And both of them ended up being really, really supportive. Both of them were just extremely concerned about like my safety, because all you can hear is like some news where sometimes there's some LGBTQ like hate crime. But more importantly, they're kind of nervous about me coming out in the lacrosse atmosphere, because sometimes lacrosse can be seen in the light of the bro culture, where guys really like to talk about girls and lacrosse and girls, and it kind of centers on those two things, and they're just worried about how people are going to react and accept me. So once they heard about the positive reaction from lacrosse guys, they were just really relieved. And then from that welcoming acceptance, they supported me even more to come out in the public atmosphere.
Yeah, and that's great, Holden. That you felt comfortable coming out to your parents. Your parents, kind of digested everything, even though at first you thought you were, your life was kind of over, I guess I would say. You were kind of silently freaking out, but it's great that your parents are supporting you. Last question, about this whole thing before we kind of change gears, because you are a lacrosse player as well. You talked about the bro culture in the locker room. And, for those of our listeners that listen to us on a regular basis, everyone knows I played at Drew University, same Division III level as you, Holden. And how I would describe the locker room dynamics in lacrosse is it's very similar to football. Guys are cracking jokes with some gay slurs that I won't say on here out of respect for you and just really basic human being. But also they brag about how many, women they get with over the weekend or over the week. So, once you did come out to your team and your coaches, I guess, was there any kind of change? What was the initial reaction in the team? What was the locker room like? Anything like that?
My coaches were really receptive of me coming out. I ended up coming out to my head coach over the phone, because I was just too nervous to come out to him in person at first, because basically your coach is like a father figure to you and many other people, so it's like kind of hard to like come out to him as well. So to me, I came out to him on the phone, and we had a nice conversation. And I went into his office and talked to him the next day, so that was really good. And then the team dynamic outside of the practice in the locker room didn't change at all, which was amazing. And then I always get asked about the questions in the locker room, like, how is that going? And I was like, for me, I kind of like I kind of told people what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with.
Right.
And basically what I told them is, like, I will not accept homophobic slurs in my earshot. So, like, if I hear you say it, I'll probably confront you about it and just tell you that's okay, and let's not have it again. Like, call them whatever you want, except that. But as far as, like, the banter in the lacrosse room or locker room, like, talking about girls, like, it doesn't bother me. And, like, as you can say, like, guys like to joke around with each other. And from last year, like, before they knew I was gay, like, I participated in this as well. So for me to continue that banter and, like, kind of instigate it myself, it kind of shows them that nothing's really changed. And even though I like guys, I can still make fun of myself and make fun of them, and it just doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, and it's also great that your teammates, you know, kind of like the same thing with Michael Sam in Missouri, that your teammates embraced you, and, you know, embraced the, you know, there were boundaries that had to be drawn in the locker room, like you said, in terms of what you would tolerate and what they should say. But, you know, in the end, you know, they kind of kept everything, you know, status quo throughout the locker room. So, Holden, obviously you're a lacrosse player as well. So let's get to lacrosse field here. Let's shift to lacrosse. You guys are well into preseason. You're gearing up for your first game this Saturday. How hard has preseason been, or how lenient has preseason been, and how's the team looking this year?
We're actually looking really good this year. Our fall season went tremendously well. We ended up winning our two scrimmages against Division II Seton Hill and some other Division III team that name escapes me right now. Our preseason this year was probably the hardest preseason I've had since being a lacrosse player, which is actually really good. We had a really good fitness test that we all had to complete, and then along with 6 a.m.s and like small group work and doubles, we've really have been putting in the effort to be the best team we are. And I think that a great deal of that of credit goes to our coaches for really pushing us, because it's great that they kind of figured out a conditioning system that not only pushes us physically but also mentally. So having that kind of work and dynamic has really brought us much closer than we were last year, which is actually really awesome, because we're a completely different team than last year. And so going into our first game, especially coming off of a really big preseason scrimmage win, we're really looking forward to dominating this Saturday against Albion College.
Yeah, so, okay, I have to ask, before we went on here, you you had told me that both your head coach and your assistant coach went to Drew University, which is where I played, as I had mentioned before. Coach Doug Mazzardi and Coach Gary DiClemente as well. So I gotta ask, have any of them ever mentioned Drew in terms of the former coach Tom Lianos and done like any you know, high pitched impressions of him, or have you guys done like any like 18 sprints or like big red drills? I mean, has anything like that come over? Have they ever mentioned that?
I think the 18 sprints sounds familiar. We kind of do like these goal line to goal line sprints, in which might be similar to that. Unfortunately, I don't think I've heard anything about your past Drew coach, but I do know we're playing Drew this season, so if you're around the area, I should definitely come out to that game.
Yeah, well, okay. I was going to address this at the end, but I know you're playing us this year. It's right in Madison, which is very close to me. It's like 20 minutes away. You have any predictions on me? Do we make a wager on this game?
Well, I can't predict the score, but I'm going to tell you that we're actually going to dominate on that field with more balls clearing. So I'm going to say that we're going to try our hardest and do our best, because hard work pays off, and hopefully we come out with that W.
All right, I mean, I know I can't give my team any bulletin board material, and I know your coaches will be mad at me for doing so. So okay, you mentioned preseason. Last question here before we wrap up on NCAA Lax Game Day. What are you guys looking to improve upon from last season, especially after the way last season ended, where you guys lost in the NCAC championship to nationally ranked Denizen, who you guys had really close games with both times you faced them.
I think, as every team's goal is to win the conference championship, and speaking from last year's experience, we have something really special this year, which just kind of like a chemical feel between the team. We have a good feel, and just like everybody's bonded to each other. So I think that we lacked with that closeness last year. We have this year, in which, because we lost a lot of close games last year, and I feel like now that we're closer as a team, we're going to be able to pull out those tight games in which we can potentially beat Denizen and Oulu and bring us our first NCAC championship, and more importantly, go into the NCAA tournament, as we did, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that must be an awesome feeling to have gone to an NCAA tournament. I was never able to do that at Drew. We failed miserably last year, but I mean, best of luck to you. So Holden, thank you for coming on. For those of you who are interested in learning more about what Holden went through and the article, you can read about Holden Richards and the full article on outsports.com. You can also tweet at Holden at his handle at Holden_Richards. And, you know, of course, Holden, good luck with everything this season and your season opener this Saturday against Albion College, as well as, you know, future endeavors after lacrosse, and, you know, just have a good day at class later.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining us. And, you know, like I said, good luck this season, all right?
All right, thank you very much.
Yep.